Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Hello, hello. Welcome to my Manic Mondays, the movies and mental health podcast. I am your host, CJ Robles. Once again, we have a really good episode today. I just wanted to say, everyone, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you. I have this light a little too bright. Got to tone it down just a little bit. There we go. I like that better. Feels a little bit more. Too much exposure. This is the show. We're always working, always figuring it out. Thank you for everybody who's here hanging out with us tonight. We're in for a show. I did want to. I don't like keeping my guests waiting too much in the green room, and I had we had the Suck It Levi challenge episode, which kind of was probably my roughest episode because my friends over there a little bit they're very vocal. And during that show, we had a meeting afterwards, and they suggested that some people I should reach out to. And on a whim, I just reached out to this gentleman, and he gave me a thumbs up. And he was like, "Hey, that's kind of from the same neck of the woods." So it was kind of cool to really do some research on this individual this evening. Just waiting a litsee bit more, getting some people, see some stragglers in. I know I started a little bit late, but let's see if some people come in because we have a great show for us. And the reason I called it special effects, since it's not special effects because this week's episode we have a special effects artist. To say the least, does a lot of things. And the definition for effect on Google, it says a change in which is a result or a consequence of an action or other cause. So it says the lethal effects are hard drugs. So you can have a cause and effect. One thing happens and something else happens. And then I put affect because it says here for effect, it actually have an effect on which a difference to. The dampness began to affect my health. So affect is kind of what actually affects, something that affects you, your mind, your body, your heart. It affects you. Where an effect is more of a visual. Well, hopefully that's my definition. So I'm sorry, but the reason I like to bring both things up because there are a lot of things that come in handy when you have when you're doing visual effects and you're working with your effect. So I'm trying to do. I don't know if you catch, I'm trying to do like a cross here to introduce my guest. I guess we've gone long enough. We've gone 4 minutes. I want to hang out with my guest already. So without further ado, I got an intro video for my guest. So let's get this thing going. So right here we go. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the Indie Escape, the one and only special effects artist, producer, director, Joe Castro. How's it going, Joe?
Hi, CJ. How you doing this evening?
Doing well.
You
For
pronounce. I like the way you pronounce my name with a like a Hispanic accent on it. That's good though. That's good.
that's
You know, it's like,
okay.
all right, Castro. You know, it's
Well,
been a long time since I've heard somebody pronounce it that way. Yeah,
well,
that's awesome.
thank you. The thing is, well, I speak Spanish. Like I said, I grew up on the border, so it's like hand in hand with me. But the thing is, I was telling myself everything I hear, it's whatever I hear online is I'll go by. So Castro, Castro, and I told myself Castro, and as soon as I get started, it's Castro.
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's like
Most people don't even know that I'm Hispanic. Some people think I'm Italian or that I'm Middle Eastern or Lebanese or whatever. But yeah,
Armenian.
yeah, my Armenian. My real name is Jose Manuel Castro. But back in 1993 when I made my first feature film, people were calling me Joey Castro, and I didn't think that Joey. Because I grew up as a Joey, and I thought I don't know if that's going to be a great name for a director, Joey Castro. So I changed it to Joe Castro, and kind of stuck ever since here in Hollywood. Kind of have more of a commercial sounding, less ethnic name, whatever, and
Yeah.
it all kind of goes with the territory, right?
Yeah, Martin Sheen. It's just like
Exactly.
he's like Martin, but he's got to go by Martin. And it's like it is the you're right, the territory thing. I got a lot of the India Escape people like Joe that they try to pronounce my name with an accent, and I'm like it just
Like
comes out like
Robles or what?
yeah like I say Robles, and they go CJ Robles. I was like duh dude, it's just I can't I don't you're not even supposed to roll your R on my last name. I just do it because I do it so much, but. This is so cool that we're going to have you on. I don't, everyone that's watching and that watches in the future, I don't know Joe. I'm getting to know him right now. And on my research, I found out he is from Elotes. Helotes.
Yeah, Elotes, Texas. Yeah,
Elotes, Texas, right
yeah,
outside of San Antonio, which is
yeah.
actually, I use Highway 90 to go from the border to San Antonio, which is our only big city, which is only one direction. How was it growing up in that area? Like now that you're doing film, like I don't know how you connected, how you were able just to. I feel like you either just said, I'm going and taking off, or how did you get started on all that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. Wow, that's a loaded question. I grew up in. Let's put it this way. I grew up in the town I grew up in when I was growing up. The population was 1,400, and I was like this creative, kid. Ever since I was very, very little, my family knew I was very creative, and I, you know, I grew up on a goat ranch with like 50 acres of property, and
Nice.
everybody on my father's side, all my uncles on my father's side are very creative. They all have like skills like carving and drawing and painting. Some were taxidermists. They would carve wood, carve bones, stuff like that. They were all very creative. So I got all my skills from my father's brothers, and he had four brothers and younger brothers, and uh, it wasn't until I was like like well, when I was 7 years old, my father showed me this movie on TV. He said, "Son, watch this film. You're gonna love it." And it was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was seven. It was 1977, and he was outside, like literally cutting wood. With like a gas powered wood cutter. And he said, "Stay inside. I don't want you to hurt yourself outside." So I sat down and watched this film. He knew I would like it, and I did. And after that was over, the film was over. As the credits were rolling, I said, my father came inside to check on me, and he said, "Yeah." I said, "What is that? Dad, how do they do that?" He said, "That's special effects, son. That's how they do that." And I said, "Oh," I said, "That's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a special effects artist, and I want to make monster movies." And that's kind of how where it all began. It was like some creature feature on a Saturday afternoon. This is like back in the day in 1977. There were only three channels
Yeah.
on TV. There was only three: ABC, NBC, and CBS. I think there may have been PBS too. Maybe there were four channels, and it was PBS.
Yeah.
But so it just like that's the way it went down, and there you go.
Very similar to mine, where my family, especially like my dad's side, my grandpa had like three wives. So
Mm,
like my dad's family's huge, and then on my and then we're like the extended. I say like the extended olive branch. Like I'm just grateful for being here because I don't know how this like we have family trees. Mine's a family bush. It just keeps growing like to the side, and my mom's side. like very artistic, very they're from Acuña, from Mexico, but they're like very like writers, drawers, painters, musicians, and then but they can't just stop there. They have to be like lawyers, doctors, engineers. And I'm like, I just want to be a bartender because I want to figure this out. I want to wait tables. I don't know, but it's kind of me. But it's like, well, you have it too. You just gotta kind of, because it's like you write something and you're like, hey, look, I wrote this story. And they're like, yeah, I wrote this too, and I just had a triple bypass the other day. Well,
Yeah,
how's your
yeah,
day going? It's like, oh, well, trying to figure this out.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I grew up around older cousins, like 10 years older than me, so I was always a younger runt. And then, but
Yeah,
then I got taller. So
my cousin Eddie Perez had a twin brother. His name was Ernest Perez, and when I was 11 years old, they were 32 years old, and they had this ginormous collection of VHS horror films. And Eddie worked on the railroad, and he would go work in Laredo, and he would drive down to Laredo every week from San Antonio and work for 5 days a week, and then he'd come home. And his wife at the time, he's been since remarried, but his wife at the time had lupus, and they were unable to have children. And when I was 11 years old, I met Eddie and Ernest at a family we call reunion, a family get together, at my aunt Beatrice's house, and we just started talking. They were 32, I was 11 years old. I started talking to them, and we started talking about monsters and dinosaurs and monster movies. And then have you ever been to a horror convention?
oh yeah, I could talk about horror. Yeah, I just
Okay,
recently got into them,
yeah.
man.
So we closed the reunion down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we were like drinking like Texas iced tea, and here they were talking to this 11-year-old kid. So we closed the reunion down. Anyways, he would come back. So what would happen was, because he couldn't have any kids on the weekend, I would go and spend the weekend with Eddie and Ernest, mostly with Eddie, but until Eddie got divorced from his wife eventually, and then moved down to Laredo. But I then would hang out with Ernest. But they introduced me to like comic book stores and record conventions and
Yeah.
horror conventions, and they introduced me to this magazine called Cinemagic.
Yes.
And if you're not familiar with it, it's a magazine that was started by a group of independent filmmakers back in the early '80s. And there's a magazine. The issue number 6 is basically, it gives you a step-by-step instruction of how to make a rubber mask. And so for my 12th birthday, Eddie took me to a comic book store, and he said, "Whatever you want, buy it, and whatever you want." I had the first 100 issues of Fangoria magazine, and I remember that day I bought the issue number 1 again because I had lost the first issue. But he bought me issue number 1 of Fangoria, and he bought me this magazine that I was reading through. It said how to make a rubber mask. So when I was 12 years old, I made my first rubber mask.
That's
You know,
I would read those magazines, and I would read like Wizard magazine, and I would read Fangora, and I just never thought to apply it. Like I never thought I would do projects, but I never thought to connect everything. And that's so cool. You have family members that are like that are much older than you. They're like, hey, this kid, we like where he's at. I feel like I always had the opposite, like because I have that Hispanic background. Like I have the trabajador, the worker inside of me, but just because I'm not outside all the time working, they make it seem like, oh, you're not working. And I'm like, well, I could do both. I'm inside, outside. I like working on my stuff inside, and like going. I have a garden. I like going outside and being all sweaty and dirt and everything. But also, I like to work inside. Maybe I'm a little privileged there, but having
yeah,
that, I see that, and I'm always like, man, it's just so crazy how much like how many like family members do influence us like a lot. I do have some comments here. So I have Brandon E. Brooks. He says, "Yo, CJ, looking forward to a great show, brother." Yes, I took and
I love
that
that.
Brandon's the reason why I gave you that sweet intro, because Brandon has intros. I was like, I like I like Brandon's intros. Joe Ridgely, good evening, gentlemen. Happy early birthday, Joe. Joe was the very first online horror convention with us and did the live zombie makeup demonstration.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
I'm a good
It's always
hand.
an honor and a privilege to be in Joe's company, and I appreciate him very much. Yeah, I love
Oh
what he
yeah,
does for the indie community, indie horror community, and for all of us. We appreciate you, Joe, very much. And
yeah.
Brandon, thank you so much, Brandon, for all that you do for us.
Yeah, Brandon, and the thing I love about just meeting these gentlemen is just, or just individuals, as Daniela as well, is like I don't know, social media is very negative and toxic, And when I get to see like somebody posting something positive all the time, like Brandon's constantly posting like beautiful like quotes and stuff, and I'm like, that's awesome. I like being around these kind of people. As I say, this is
I was
CJ.
I was gonna say you said that social media is very toxic, and I was gonna say so is driving in the streets of LA. So it's one or the other. I mean,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just driving. Period. You know.
You know,
Uh,
when I lived in LA in 2013, like I always tripped me out that you had to go like east to go west, but you couldn't really like the highway kind of bends a little bit and goes this way, or some of the main highways. And I was always second guessing myself, like, nah, I better take this exit here, and it'd take me like I'd be heading out like north, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm stuck in this traffic for the next 45 minutes to do a U-turn.
oh,
I was,
yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it
just
traffic can be you're at the mercy of some idiot that may have had a car wreck or whatever's going on. Sure.
God. And then once I found out about the carpool lane, I was just I was giving people rides left and right. I was like, where do you need to go? I will take you. I was like the original Uber. I was like, just I don't want to wait in traffic. So we have CJ Vecchio says,
Hey,
hey Joe,
CJ,
the best. And then we have Sean Smithson. Hey CJ Joe, he's our regular here. Sean hangs out with us.
Sean, hello.
Joe Sherlock.
Sure. Joe's my brother. Yeah, Joe was one of my first like friendships that I really nurtured and cultivated here or on Facebook. Period. And Joe and I have worked with David Sterling in the past, but he's a good guy. I think we both understand each other. Yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool. You know, Joe Castro creates amazing stuff, and then Sean Smithson says Joe is awesome. So you're in good hands tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
You brought your people here too. That's so awesome, man. I did want to just say a little. I know. I guess we'll go into this already because I was bringing up Stan Winston and I wanted to know how much of an influence him or Jim Henson or anybody. But then I just doing my research.
Was it Stan Winston? Stan Winston is a very very influential person in my life too. Like I was going to ask you, do you know what the very first movie Stan Winston ever did was?
No.
uh, Stan Winston did this movie called The Bat People. It was like his very first film ever, and he it came out like in 1974. And if you see the film, he gets like an upfront credit in the movie, like the creature makeup by Stan Winston. It's his very first movie. Like right out the gate, this guy was like, like I'm going to be the best.
Yeah.
I'm important. I am someone who is going to make this movie worth your while. And so yeah, the very first movie I worked on, it was like upfront credits, creature effects by Stan, and it was Stanley Winston the Third.
Oh
It's
wow.
not Stan Winston, is it? He's Stanley Winston the Third. Anyways, yeah, I
Cool.
just
That's
think it's
funny.
a little bit of trivia there. Yeah,
Well, that's funny
yeah.
for me because he's a lot younger and he's Stanley, and then he got older and he was Stan. So it's
Stan, yeah.
like usually
Stanley Winston. Yeah.
yeah, I got into the horror conventions in 2019. Actually, the tail end of December 2018 was my first one. I wanted to do them for like 15 years. I never did them. My son was born, and it was just like either you start going or you never go to them. So I started going to them, and I've been to Texas Frightmare 3 times. I've been to like 15 conventions in the last few years, just learning from everybody. I went as a fan. I never once realized that I'd be doing this, interviewing, keep meeting people, because it's just something I enjoy doing. And I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, would you rather keep doing what you're doing, or you want to try some challenge yourself? Let's do some other stuff. Let's see what we can figure out, and bringing guests on like yourself, it really shows me like I'm like there's like a, like when I meet Tom Savini at Texas Frightmare, he's got like this professionalism to him where I'm just kind of like I don't stand it. I can't hold a light to you, dude. Like he's so good at everything. And then as I was saying with Stan Winston, and then I brought Tom Savini. Now I found out about Herschel Gordon Lewis,
Hmm.
which is what you, it was. I would find out is they call the Godfather of Gore. I believe
Yeah.
is. Let's see.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah. Yeah.
image him right here. And
Yes. Herschel is he is the first man, director, creator, producer, special effects artist to exploit blood in motion picture cinema. Before Herschel, blood was always very minimal, or it was used in a context where it was, censored in a way that it would not be considered obscene. See, back in like the 1960s, they had laws where pornography was considered obscene, and if you distributed or produced anything that was obscene, you would go to prison.
Oh, wow.
And he made a movie called Blood Feast back then, and this was 1963, and the whole movie is basically, and this is where we get the slasher formula from. We get a deranged killer stalks innocent victims one by one, killing the victim on camera in a horrific bloody death, and then at the end of the film, the killer dies at the hands of the hero or the heroine of the movie in an even more horrific death. That's the story, the formula for Blood Feast. And so every movie that follows that formula is a copycat of Blood Feast.
A blood feast.
See? People don't realize that Herschel Gordon Lewis invented the slasher formula. Anyways, like Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw, all these movies are based on what Herschel gave us. Anyhow, yeah, I know Herschel is a very, very important man to know the horror. I always ask people, I say, have you seen Blood Feast? And they're like, nope. And I'm like, oh, well, then you're not really a horror fan. You're missing out. You don't know what you're missing. Yeah, he has when you watch one of Herschel's movies, you'll say, oh, that's Herschel Gordon Lewis. That's a Herschel Gordon Lewis film. You can just tell by looking at the picture because he's so unique. You know, what he did was so unique and so original. And then when you watch his films, you're going to think, oh, that's so cliche. Oh, that's so dated. Oh, that's so cheesy because I've seen that. That's because he made it first and everybody's copied him. So it's like everything you'll see in a horror comes from his films, you know?
Yeah.
Stalking and torture and ripping tongues out and this and that. It all came from all of his movies. So yeah, Herschel's a big influence in my life.
I mean, it has to get started somewhere, and a lot of places like could be inspired by anything. I think it's just awesome that you got to like work with him, you got to meet him, like someone that actually inspired you to. I guess did he inspire you to get started? Right? Is that what you said?
Well, he did not. You know, Godzilla versus the Smog Monster inspired me to get started in the business. But Herschel did have a big influence on me. You know, I didn't realize how much it was until I met him, and I had a chance to work on the sequel to Blood Feast. I did the special effects for Blood Feast 2 back in 2001, and it was funny how that whole thing went about. Originally, a company that I was working for was asked to do the special effects for Blood Feast 2 because it was kind of a big deal, the sequel to the very first slasher movie ever.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't have the way it was approached to me was like they don't have a lot of money, so we're just going to give it to Joe and see if Joe can do it. Ultimately, I think that my boss at the time wanted to see it all fall apart. He was kind of like, we'll just give this kid, he won't be able to do it. Whatever, it'll all fall apart. You know what I mean? Like it won't be. It wasn't worth anybody's time. And what happened was, it worked. It was amazing. Everything about it was amazing. I became best friends with Herschel, and kind of like jump started my career. So it kind of like backfired on the company that I was working for. And
did you take that
blessing?
Did you take that like? Did you know, or you just kind of were like, I'm gonna just take it in. This is my first thing.
I figured it out after the fact. After the fact, I figured it out because just like the expressions on their faces when I told them how amazing it was and showing the pictures and everything, you know, I was really smart about the way I went about doing the special effects. They didn't have a lot of money, but they had enough to make everything look amazing. So what I did was I spent the money very wisely. I did everything I could myself, and then when it came to like painting the pieces or like some little details, I hired like a very, very well-known industry professional to put some finishing touches on them, and it made them look amazing. So when I went to set with them, it looked amazing on camera. And so I just, I put a little bit of money aside to do that with. So I was very smart about the way I went spending their low budget, and it worked out really great.
How did you figure out to do that though? Like in such an early beginning, because it took me like 11 short films to realize I need to hire a cameraman.
Yeah, no, I figured out a long time ago that you don't cheap out on something that's going to be on the screen. You can cheap out on what you feed your crew or what you pay somebody or, those little things. But if it's going to be in front of the camera, you can't cheap out on that. And also, when you walk in on a movie set and you have like this amazing prop, everybody in the cast and crew feels better about the film. So they
Yeah.
do a better job and they make the film even better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Like
a
you,
great.
you,
Yeah.
you walk in. It's very important to walk in on set with something that looks very professional because it really changes the entire the entire, what do you call it? The entire ambiance of the
Yeah.
film and the crew, what's going on, and people really it really lights a fire underneath everybody. So making special effects isn't all about the art form of making special effects. It's also about making. I always say this: my job is not really to make monsters or creatures; it's to make my boss look cool, feel cool. That's what my job really is. And I have people that come to assist me, and they're trying to get their own ideas in there, and they want their own design over here, and they want this to be their part. And I'm like, dude, calm down. It's not about your thing. Our
Yeah.
job, we're just trying to make our boss look cool. That's all we're trying to do today.
Yeah.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you can do that, you like score big time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I approach a job. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the same advice. I have getting my degree. I had to take the graphic design classes, and one of my professors one day was like, "Well, we're all here adults. He was probably in his 60s, like maybe 70s. He's like, anybody want to go grab a beer?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll go grab a beer with you." And I'm like the only guy. I'm like the only one in my 30s. Everyone is like in their like 21, 22. So I go with him, and then he's just having a conversation with me, and he said, "You want to know how you get a lot of work in this business?" And I go, "How do you do this?" He goes, "Just make your boss look good. Make the
Yeah.
guy paying you, make him look good. That's why they're paying
Yeah.
you." He told me that little gem, and I just kept it in my head. And then it wasn't until, I get on a movie set on my own where I was like, I can do this myself. I don't want to lose on this, and just kind of get to that point where I was like, you know what? But when I do hire somebody, I'm gonna like they're the king, they're the queen, they're here because they're here to help me out. And I was like, wow, got that from like a graphic design teacher. Got some comments in here. Let's see who's up in here. Let's see. Okay. So Joe Ridgely said, we're going to have the cast and crew of The Beast Comes at Midnight on when it's closer to release.
All right.
He actually told me not to bring it up, so he brought it up. Cool. That's
Oh,
why. He was like, I go, because we had a meeting last week, and I was like,
okay.
I got a guest, Joe. And he's like, who? Joe Castro. And he's like, well, you're gonna talk about The Beast Comes at Midnight. I go, well, no, we're gonna talk about his career. I mean, that's in it. But he's like, we're gonna talk. He's like, we're doing a show. We're gonna talk about it later. I was like, well, we'll talk about it soon. So I'm ready for it. I saw the trailer. The Indie Escape, Joe. Thanks for a great contribution to many aspects of film biz. I'm a admirer of so much of your work. You've been part of like a couple of the Wish master films, Bleed, Campfire Tales, and so much more. Respect.
Thank
I
you.
think this is Brandon E. Brooks. That's yeah. So the
Thank you, brother.
Wishmaster. How did you get involved with the Wishmaster?
Well, I worked on part three and part four. They were shot back to back in Canada, and I worked for a company that was hired to create the special effects for it. And there was a team of us. There was like six of us that worked on that film, and everybody had their own little piece and part to be accomplished. And I remember I was supposed to go up to the set, but instead I stayed behind because they were already on set in Canada while we were still building stuff here in LA.
Oh,
Back in
okay.
this, it was that fast. It was that kind of fast of a deal going down, and we didn't have much. In fact, I think that they had one person who was going to be the Jinn in the film, the Wishmaster, and
Yeah.
he turned out not to even be that actor. When we got to set, it was a whole other actor when they got to set. It was evolving as it happened, but as everything happened in a blink of an eye. I really don't remember much about it. People like say, well, we can talk about that. All I know is that I made what was it? What did I do for that? Oh yeah, I did the Jin horns. I sculpted the horns. Those
Yeah, yeah,
weird
yeah.
tentacle
It kind of
horns.
looks like his hair, kind of, but it's the
Yeah, it's like these two horns, and they
yeah.
kind of like rest on his shoulders, and then they come down. That was I'm very grateful that my boss, um, gave me they believed in me enough to sculpt those horns because they had like a key artist come in and do the face and the chest and all that stuff. Obviously, it was a very important part of the film, and my boss believed in me enough to have me sculpt the horns for the piece. And so they used those horns. There were like there's like four baby Jin in one of the two. I think even part four. And then there's the main Jin in the film, the Wishmaster. That's a Jin, right? You know, like a
Yeah,
Jin.
yeah.
Yeah. So they've got the baby Jins, and then they got the main Jin, and they just ran these molds of these horns for everybody had these horns. So my work got to be kind of
Multiplied
dribbled
or
all over the
yeah.
place. And then I helped one of the other key artists fabricate the suits. You know, we made the suits in pieces, chest pieces and ribs and horns coming out of their shoulders and whatnot. And everybody got to do a little bit of sculpting and a little bit of molding. And but I was basically the main fabricator. I was really good at like fabrication when you like put it together, compositing, fabricating all the pieces. I mean, you can sculpt a mask, but then you have to figure out how to get it into the
Yeah.
suit, or how you sculpt the chest. We got to figure out how to get it onto the person, so that way you don't have to glue it down each time. You know what I'm saying? It's all,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a whole science all on its own, and it needs to be produced in a way where it can be stripped down and taken off a form and put on somebody else and fitted and adjusted and all that stuff. So there was all kinds of little details for that show. But yeah, that was good times.
Well,
It was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. It's
yeah.
like 2003, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah.
2002, one, something like
Was a
that. Yeah,
while.
some of that. Yeah.
So like set design or like just getting the shot. I always when you were just telling me right now, just things happen. The actor didn't show up or the different actor. Reminds me of like RoboCop when they have that scene in the club that Peter Weller couldn't actually wear the whole suit, so he literally has the RoboCop suit on the top part, but the bottom is just boxers. Like
Okay. Okay.
and
Yeah.
and it like you have to get the shot. It doesn't matter. So now when I watch that scene, I'm just like, I don't ruin it for myself, but I'm like, he's literally walking in boxers on this scene, and you can't tell. Like it looks like RoboCop is wearing a whole suit. Like he's in here. So
I,
so you know what
I
I'm
would
saying?
say I would say I'm old enough to tell you that I saw RoboCop the opening weekend on Saturday and was released in the United States. I saw it twice in the same day. It was so good that I brought my mother and my I went to see it with my best friend, and we liked it so much we invited our moms to come back later on that day. It was at the Ingram Six Mall. We still had our ticket stubs, so we just bought either moms bought tickets, and we all sat and watched it again. It was so good. It's just such a good film. We had never seen anything like that before in our life. Yeah, I didn't
Dude,
know that he was walking around in his boxers though.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
He got it was too mobile and it was too hot, and they just let him
Okay.
go. Ingram Park Mall. That was my mall too.
Yeah,
Like
in San Antonio.
I told you.
Yeah, Ingram Park Mall. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Ingram Six. Yeah,
because they
I saw the Evil Dead there. I saw the Evil Dead on the movie screen. I saw the Evil Dead on VHS, be pirated on VHS before it was actually screened in a movie theater.
that's awesome.
That's how back in the day. I saw movies like I saw City of the Living Dead. It was actually called Twilight of the Living Dead when it
Okay.
was released in San Antonio. This is 1983. This is the full cheese film. Have you seen City of the Living Dead? Get to hell.
I have no.
Oh
I've
God!
I've, I'll say I've glimpsed that
Shame
in.
on you.
No,
Or
I haven't seen. When I say I don't watch a movie, I gotta watch the beginning to end. If I watch parts of it, it doesn't count. Like I love watching death scenes, so I'll go back and I'll archive death scenes. But I won't say I've seen the movie, even though I've seen all the death scenes in the movie.
well, Twilight City Gates of Hell is like the foreign title. It's like the Italian Fulci title. And then when it was released in the United States, literally it was called Twilight of the Living Dead. And when it was released, the movie poster was in we had newspapers. You open a newspaper, and they'd have all the movie posters in the newspaper. And at the bottom of the movie poster, they would have a little box, and it would show you what movie theaters the movie was showing in, and the
Yeah.
time slot. And so they had this movie poster for Twilight of the Living Dead. And after the first week it ran in the United States, they pulled all the movie posters because George Romero supposedly, they say, hey, you can't use that title. You can't use that title, And but that's how I saw Gates of Hell. It was called Twilight of the Living Dead at the time. And anyways, but I saw kinds of crazy. When I was young, I saw the Toxic Avenger in the movie theater.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
the Friday it was released. I saw stuff like I saw a unrated version of the original Fright Night as a test screening at Westlake Mall, at the Westlake Theater, and yeah,
Man, that's so cool. I mean, it's in San Antonio, it's just like right there, and like I never thought you could do that. I did like, I honestly, it was more of a mental thing for me. I never thought I had the confidence to be there. Even like right now, I'm crashing. Like I've seen a lot of these movies, but I'm like, I can't remember a lot of them.
Yeah.
What?
Well, most of these movies would never play today on a movie theater. Is basically what I'm saying. Like, these are like, cult films. Like, they were considered no budget films at the time. They didn't really play in the major runs. These like Italian slasher movies I saw that, like, I can't even begin to tell you like the movies I saw. Like, I saw this movie called Mausoleum. It stars Bobby Brazee. Most of your fan base, the people that are watching this, will know Mausoleum. I saw that movie in the theater the weekend it was released. I saw things like The Company of Wolves, which was a British film. I saw The Deadly Spawn. If you don't know what The Deadly Spawn is, Deadly Spawn is like this like micro budget film shot on 16 millimeter. And I saw it like as a double feature with Beetlejuice.
Oh, God, that's also cool.
Yeah. But back in the day, if a movie wasn't released in a movie theater, it wasn't released at all. So every movie that was released was shown in a movie theater, and San Antonio was a very large city, so we were able to get all these crazy kind of like cultish movies shown there, in San Antonio. And in fact, San Antonio used to be the heavy metal capital of the world.
Does
like literally like. That's where Ozzy Osbourne was it Pete on the Alamo.
Pete on the Alamo.
Bit the head off the bat in Houston. It was all South Texas. South Texas was a test market for horror films. I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with Tobe Hooper. I saw it with Tobe Hooper, and it wasn't even released yet. It was like a test screening, and there were like 10 people in the theater. Like no one came. No one came.
You're just saying because nobody wanted. Yeah, it was just okay. So there was the opportunity was there, but it just
it was a test screening, and anybody was. I think the radio station announced they was giving away tickets or whatever. And my mom and I went down to meet Tobe Hooper, and I remember there was like I made like a rubber monster mask and brought it down. It was like some sort of contest or whatever, and I don't want to go into the details, but like I remember like the San Antonio Film Commission was a part of it, and they wanted to keep the mask, and I'm like, well, what do I get for the mask? And I was like, do not give your mask away, Joe. And but we sat and watched the movie, and it was great. But there was like no one there at the screening of it in San Antonio. It was a great film, I love it. I loved God bless Tobe Hooper. He's gone now, but so.
Yeah, I mean,
there you go. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a different time altogether. Everybody was more accessible. It was easy to access people back in the day and work with them and meet them and talk with them and that sort of thing. So
you think it was easier back then, or you don't think social media is a little bit easier now to get a hold of somebody, or do you think it's a little bit harder?
Well, I think there's so many people out there now that it's just kind of like sure, you can say hello to somebody or whatever, but being able to like sit and like for instance, I used to call Tom Savini on the telephone and talk with him. I don't know how many phone calls Tom Savini is going to be taking from his fans these days on the telephone. I used to sit and talk with me for hours, and he would explain to me how to do things. When I was like 13 and 14 years old, he explained to me on the telephone how to load blood into a chemical fire extinguisher and load it up with compressed air.
Damn.
So it was, like I said, a different time. Well, back in the day, you used to be able to call 411 if you knew the area code of the city you were calling. You would call, you type in the area code and then 411, and it would ring the information operator to that city. And if you knew the person was living in that city, and they were listed in the phone book, you could just give them their name, and that could be the phone number.
Wow.
You could just call them.
I remember similar things like that. Like Star 69 was a big thing for me back in the day, blocking numbers. But this is what thing I love. I love you sharing this because I love bringing it all in. And I mean, everything I'm learning from here, from our conversation, I will go apply or I will go research because it's just gonna make me more understanding, more or less what I need to do. Like I love the horror scene, and I grew up with that. It was more like my dad gave me like a little black box. It had all these channels on it and just said, "Go watch TV, leave me alone." So I would watch all these horror movies. And so I'm going to segue with this because there were a lot of movies that I remember watching, and it isn't until I go to the horror conventions that I'm like, okay, I remember this movie, but why can't I stream it? Why can't I find it? Where is it? I have to buy it. I'm okay with that. I like the physical media. But like I was saying when we were talking in the green room, I was like, I don't even know. Like I was trying to find a lot of your movies, and you're like, they're on Vimeo. I was like, oh, didn't even check Vimeo.
Almost all my films are on Vimeo, but most of the stuff has been all the first run limited DVD release stuff. If you just Amazon it, there's
Oh,
always someone moving a copy of my stuff. The Jackhammer Massacre, Terror Toons, Blood Feast 2. I did, and recently the Xenophobia. But yeah,
when when it
go
comes
ahead.
to horror and gore, do you does it matter if with you with the genre, or is it just more like getting the shot right, or getting the way it looks? Like, is it more like, cause Xenophobia, it looks like a sci-fi movie, and you can, like, with
Yeah,
me,
there's
like,
very little blood in that film. That movie's a PG movie. Yeah,
what?
yeah, that's a PG film.
I
It's
gotta,
a
I'm gonna
great
say, I gotta watch them. Like,
yeah, it's a totally different. I never like to make the same movie twice. People
oh, it's
people make
true.
the same movie over and over again. You don't want to look back on your career and say, "Oh, look, I made the same movie over and over again." And most people do. They don't realize that that's what they're doing. But I never like to make the same movie twice. So we try to do something a little differently. And that movie was reached a wide audience. It was in Walmart and all the major stores, and had a big national and international release. So most of that gory slasher stuff won't get that. You won't
Yeah.
you won't get that. So yeah,
It,
it's gonna mix it up a bit.
is there ever like a point where you're like, I need more gore, not enough, or is there a
You
point where
mean
they're like,
now I'm not really. Yeah, I watch people. I'm probably going to offend a whole bunch of people, but like pouring blood on someone's body and like having them scream or take pictures, that's not gory or bloody. It's just messy.
yeah,
Most of the blood you see on like these pictures of people posting online in these movies, the human body doesn't even have that much blood. Why are you doing that? It looks
yeah,
silly. If you just stop and take a look at that, at what people are doing these days when it comes to slashers, like this doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I can't be scared of it because it's improbable, it's impossible, it's almost cartoony. And then
yes,
you have people don't understand. People think that blood, you put red food coloring in whatever it is, and that's blood. Every time I see blood online now, it's like that's not blood. That doesn't look like blood. If you stop and really take a look at what people are doing, it's like the blood that they're making doesn't look anything like blood. Like
it's
the hue
red.
is wrong, or not even
Yeah,
red. It's like orange or
yeah,
light
yeah.
brown, or
Oh, okay,
it's too
yeah,
dark. It looks like everybody's got demon blood now. Like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know. They don't understand why their work doesn't look good. They just know there's something off about it because they really
yeah,
haven't stopped to actually like do the research, wonder what it should really look like.
yeah.
People don't do that anymore. Because everybody thinks like just like kind of like this, like I hate to say it, but like zombie makeup. The Walking Dead has made zombies. They're not even zombies anymore. They look like they're monsters. They're not even. That's not what the undead looks like. It's just
Yeah.
like it's gone so far in one direction that it doesn't really. It's like watching a CGI character walk around. People are so disassociated with it because they know it's not real. It's just
Yeah, it sticks
okay.
out.
It's just like yeah, and it's the same with blood these days. Blood is just oh, it's just there's that I call it demon blood because everybody's blood these days is too dark. That's not what blood
Just
looks like. Go back and
yeah.
check. Go back and check yourself, everybody. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to make blood. Go back and take a look at your pictures. It's too dark. Everybody has demon blood. Now, whenever you see a picture online, you'll know what I'm talking about.
No, yeah, I'm gonna
Uh,
definitely go
you
check
know
it
what I'm
out.
saying? Yeah, and zombies are dead people. They're not dead monsters. Yeah, look at humans. You look at human teeth. You go back, and look at like zombie teeth, and that's not what a zombie would look like. It's like it's not even remotely like the undead. It looks like something else, some
Y-
sort of weird demon dead creature thing. It's not at all a zombie.
and like right now, just thinking about it, I was like, well, actually, that's why I said red, because as a filmmaker, I'm like, well, off the top of my head, I'm like, I've seen where it looks too red, so I'm gonna make it look darker. And then here you are telling me like, do not make it look darker, because it's like it's kind of like your brain. It's gonna have one or two options, and you got to keep playing with the idea till you figure out
Yeah,
where
yeah. Do
where
the
where that.
research. Wait, basically, what I'm saying is do the research. Most people
Yeah,
won't do the research. They have no idea that that's what it involves. They won't even understand our conversation. They won't know. Like I said, most people won't know why it looks wrong. They'll just think, oh, there's something off, but they won't do the research to understand what it is. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I have a lot of other a lot of other like
I'm,
things to say about people's special effects these days. But
how,
yeah, I just do my best to make everything look. I like to make my work look cinematic. Back in the day, in the 80s and 70s, everything was cinema and it was cinematic, and that's why those movies are still great to watch today. You watch a movie made like 2015, you're only going to watch it once.
yeah.
You know what I mean? No one's gonna like. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with it? Like, I mean, you probably won't even remember it. Like, I don't remember anything about any Marvel film. It's just like one CGI shot to the next. Back in the day, it was in the 70s and 80s. All that stuff still sticks because everything was cinematic. It was visually stunning and it was visually important. Every shot, it was like the shot. And let me get the shot. And here's this shot today. This is what we're doing. Now, when people make films, it's just like, okay, we got two cameras going, and you're going to do your thing, and you're going to film it from this angle, and you're going to film it from this angle, and then I'm going to edit together, and blah 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 blah. There's nothing's even storyboarded anymore. It's like the shot. You need a shot. You need to know. You need to move with purpose. People need to
Yeah.
move with purpose when they're making a film, and they just don't do that anymore. That's why movies don't stick anymore. They don't mean anything.
What's funny you say 2015 because that's exactly what I say. I use 2015. I go after 2015. I'm kind of like, we'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Let me go through some of these comments. I think it did. Brandon did say the last respect comic for Joe was for me. Yeah, it was for Brandon. I have Aaron L. Hawkins. I have to say, Joe really looks out for the indie community and does the best special work. Yes. And then it
yeah.
says hello from Courtney Webb.
Hi,
And she
Courtney.
says Joe's amazing and he's so sweet. Joe Sherlock says Deadly
Oh,
Spawn. What if?
yeah, Deadly. I don't know. Yeah, Deadly Spawn. I saw that in the theater. It was like a 16 millimeter print. Yeah, as a double feature with Beetlejuice. Yeah,
So,
at
which
the Aztec 3 Cinema downtown San Antonio. Aztec 3 Cinema used to be a heavy drug gang hangout in San
yeah,
Antonio, and they played all these really obscure movies. Have you ever heard a movie called The Slayer?
no,
The
maybe.
Slayer, the Slayer came out the year before Nightmare on Elm Street was made, and if you watch The Slayer, it looks like Wes Craven stole the movie from this movie called The Slayer, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like literally, it's just a copy. It's like
Is
Nightmare on Elm
it
Street. It's a copy of The Slayer. It's like
1982?
well, it was made like a year or so
Oh
before,
yeah, yeah.
but like literally everything is exactly. It's basically just Nightmare on Elm Street over again.
So do
And
sorry, go for it.
uh, uh, um, but The Slayer is a movie that stars band members from Slayer,
Slayer.
and it's a great film. If you've never seen it, I saw that movie at the Aztec 3 Cinema downtown San Antonio. Yeah,
Well, I have it right here on my queue, so I already put it
The
here.
Slayer. Oh, you got to watch the. Oh, you'll love it.
Yeah,
It's a great. It's a good, really good movie, and the gore is so realistic that the movie was unrated when it was released. And
yeah,
and if you watch it, you'll see there's not like all this gratuitous blood, even though it's still very gory. It's just enough to make it realistic. I want before we end, I want to talk a little bit about the Mutilator 2.
okay.
I can't really say much about it, but the Mutilator 2 is there you go. That's the sequel to a 1984 film called The Mutilator, and I recently got I was honored and privileged to create all the special effects for the sequel. A good well, a friend of mine and also one of my mentors, Mark Shostrom, who did the special effects for the first film, recommended me to do the special effects for the sequel. Was it 36 years later?
Okay.
And working with it's the original director, Buddy Cooper, who directed the first film, directed the sequel, and there's some cast members from the original in the sequel. And I'm super excited about this film. But Buddy, once again, like Herschel Gordon Lewis, he moves with purpose. And yeah, that's me wearing my Mutilator hat. But Buddy Cooper moves with purpose, and he had the shot. It was like the special effects shot. He knew exactly what he wanted the shot to look like, and it was very important that he got the shot. I can't talk too much about it. I know he doesn't want me to talk about it because they just wrapped principal photography on May the 9th, I believe. I was there for 17 days shooting the deaths and special effects, and it was a once in a lifetime experience. But I'm very excited about that film. Also, The Beast Comes at Midnight, directed by Christopher Jackson and Ed McKeever produced it along with Todd Eufer. And this is a werewolf film shot in in Tampa, right around Tampa in Florida. Great film, and I'm the main title character. I'm the Beast, and the Beast comes at
Oh,
midnight.
awesome.
So, for all you directors out there, I'm ready to act. Cast me in one of your films.
There you go.
Also, Appetite for Sin is a new movie by Matthew Vanaha. It's produced by Joseph Kelly, and great film. And also, I got a lead character in the film. I play the lead detective. It's kind of like a vampire murder mystery, sexy film. But looking forward to that movie coming out. And also, we have Terror Toons 4. We just wrapped. That's three. That's three.
Where I have four at? Is it here?
I don't think.
Sorry, there's two. There's two.
That's the quadrilogy poster. We're showing the quadrilogy, the set. We're gonna have Terror Toons 1, 2, 3, and 4. All it's a quadrilogy. Yeah, we just wrapped the pickup second unit photography on the film, and hopefully that'll be done real soon. I just want to give a shout out to everybody that purchased Indigo perks for that, and I'm super excited for the film's release. It has everything. Yeah, it's everything I ever wanted for the film. We shot the first movie in 3 days for $2,300 back in 2001. Shot the whole movie in 3 days.
That's what I'm saying. Like I heard that in this other interview, and I was just like, "What? Like, how are you?" And this is I want to say, what you did 2000, 2001? When did you?
We shot it in 2001, and then it came out in 2002. Yeah, we shot the whole movie for $2,300, and we shot it in 3 days. We shot it on a Friday, and it was Easter weekend on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the movie was, this is how I went about doing it. I told everybody that came to audition. Like literally, I just had a group of people that I knew, asked them if they wanted to be in the film. They came to the script reading, and I said, and there was just enough for everybody to fill all the roles. And I said, you can all have the roles. I said, look, all I need is 3 days of your time, and when we're done shooting it, you will have your first feature film credit, and you'll be a star of a film.
Damn.
And, I couldn't pay. I said, I can't pay you any money, but you'll be in a feature film. And they all said, yep, I'll do it. And so by the end of the weekend, we all made a movie, But it's not anything new. Like back in the 1950s and 60s, they were shooting movies that way.
Yeah.
Because it was very expensive to make a film back in the day when we shot on film, because 90 minutes worth of 35 millimeter film was like $75,000.
Yeah, it was expensive. That's what I was saying. Even for 2001, for you to shoot a movie for $2,300, that's expensive. Yeah. So I'm gonna burn through some stuff real quick because I still got comments I want to get through, and I also want to because I do have one here. A question real quick from Courtney Webb. She asked, for Joe, do you make a children's horror movie?
Will I make a children's horror movie? But my target audience for Terror Toons was 12 years old. Over 12-year-olds. Like back in the day, like when Facebook first started, I had and he's a friend of mine now, but he's grown up now. But a guy named I want to say his name's Avery. Yeah, let me see. I think he's gonna kill me now that I don't remember his name. Let me see. Avery, is it Avery? Yeah, Avery Crumley. Avery Crumley approached me back in the day, like a decade ago or more, and he was like, I think he was 12. He was 12 years old, and he had seen Terror Toons. So, he was like 12 years old. He was the target audience of the film. So Terror Toons is kind of a kid's film. There are some titties in the beginning of the film, but
I'll have to check it out.
There's no sex in the film, but there's some titties again. And it's a bloody, but it's kind of like, it's evil cartoon characters killing people with cartoon weapons, but you die for real. Basically, that's the premises of the film. So if you like Adult Swim, and you like that kind of like offbeat kind of horror cult style genre, you will love the Terror Toons franchise. Yeah.
Which I'm actually gonna purchase because they are on eBay, like you said earlier. I have them in my cart. I was like, I can't believe I didn't buy it because I was like, they're not gonna get here in a day, so I gotta wait. But I'm gonna have a little Joe Castro section. I'm gonna go through some things real quick, and I'm gonna just pop them up because I only got like 5 more minutes with you, and I have a few things I want to leave with you because this is more than I ever would have imagined. Like you got so much information that I have so much knowledge. I was just like, whoa. So we have here. You did send me this photo here. Nightcaller.
That's a brand new movie. It was just released this past Friday the 13th on Friday, and it's directed by Chad Farron. if you like the original Maniac film, kind of Psycho, it has an amazing cast, really great, solid performances. This is not a micro budget film. It's done very well, and it's a slasher movie. If you want to watch a good brand new slasher film that has some substance, this is a great movie for you to see. It's out right now on all home media platforms. I'm very
Cool.
proud of this film, and I get to jump in front of the camera for a couple of shots. I get to jump into the role of the killer in a couple of shots. Chad put me in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been putting it out there. I want to act more. So
There, yeah, yeah. That's what you got to do. So who's what's going on here?
this guy right here, we would not be having this conversation without this guy right here. You know who that guy is, Forrest Ackerman? Of course you don't.
No, I
Forrest
don't.
Ackerman
Of
is the
course.
very first horror groupie ever. He created a magazine called Famous Monsters of Filmland. It's still around today. Unfortunately, Forrest is not with us anymore. He's passed on. But he's the star of my first feature film that was shot on 35 millimeter Panavision back in 1993. It was called Ceremony. And that's Forrest right there. I bought the issue number 77 off the magazine stand back in 1997. Famous Monsters of Filmland. That's Forrest Ackerman right there. Yeah, he's the editor in chief of the magazine.
And don't forget, I am doing my research when I leave from here, so it's not like it's all going. I'm gonna find out exactly. This is great way for me to begin to see where a lot of this, because I'm getting down to the roots. Now let's talk about this real quick.
Oh,
Your
there you go.
your
Yeah.
World Guinness. When you said this to me,
You
I was
get,
like, holy crap.
most people don't know this. Yeah, most people don't know this. I have the Guinness Book of World Record for the highest body count in a slasher movie. My partner and I have the Guinness Book of World Record. My partner
Uh,
Steven Escobar, and
Escobar.
our good friend of ours, Schroeder, also helped us achieve it. It took a lot of people though. It's like 155 people in the film. So people sending me images. I went to motion graphics CGI school in order to learn the technology that I used to make the film with, and it was a big deal. This is back in 2010. I went to school in 2010. We were already shooting the movie in 2010, and the movie came out in 2012. But yeah, it was kind of hard to keep it a secret from the cast. As no one got a whole copy of the script, no one knew what we were doing, and then we just announced it once we had got the Guinness Book of World Record. But it was something I'm very proud of.
Were you
Yeah.
were you aiming for it, or did it happen on accident?
Oh no, I knew I wanted it.
No, you're
Yeah,
going for it. Okay,
yeah, I
that's
was going
awesome,
for
dude.
it.
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
have a
And,
so
we're going to re-release the film with even more deaths in the future. Yeah, I already have a plan to beat my record, and yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah. To be the man, you have to beat the man. In this
yeah,
case, you got to beat yourself.
yeah.
Earlier we said you sent me this photo with you and
There,
Herschel.
yeah, there I'm on set with Herschel. Someone snapped that picture of us together. I don't know, he's very serious there. It's so funny, that candid shot. But yeah, he's talking to me about I think he's talking to me about how much blood. Herschel's whole shtick was gross. He wanted to gross you out, and he knew how to do it. So he was, I was still a real newbie, yeah, there, and I brought stuff that I thought was gory, but he showed me how to make gory even gorier, and that's what he's doing there in that shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. And like I like your like parallel. I feel like I don't know, it's parallel thinking, but one of my first projects that I had when I started doing motion graphics and animation, 2D animation, I was just like, I just want to make a movie where the things kill you in real life and that are animated. And then it turned into like a puppet, and then it turned into like a creator just creating things. And then I found out you already made this movie, so this is I don't gotta I don't gotta I can watch it myself. Real quick, CJ says, I think my next film, The Evil 3, is going to try and beat the kill count. Oh, dang.
All right, bring it.
It's already so also I want so this is the final point of our show, and I did want to talk to you. This is my Manic Mondays, and I try to find some kind of like mental health movies aspect, and sometimes it can be anything from like somebody who've like Jason Buterin, he hates clowns, so he made a movie about him killing clowns and Kill Giggles, and there's other things that I'm picking up from people I interview, and there's a movie that I don't have a lot of movies that traumatize me. Like Lord of the Flies traumatized me. Seen that movie 1.2 times. I cannot do it. As an adult, I cannot do it. I had a
The
hard
original
childhood.
or the new one? Isn't it? Did they remake it?
I don't know. The one from the one I guess from the 80s or the 90s or the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one. They remade it, I think, in the '90s. There's an older version of the film, I think.
Yes. So the
Yeah.
one with the kid gets a boulder on his head. I cannot watch that one again. But there was after I'm going looking at my movies and I mean the movies I've seen as a kid, and there's only one movie that really affected me that that I saw. Like Nightmare on Elm Street actually helped me out with my night terror. I didn't realize that, but good old Freddy Krueger was by my side with my buddy. Instead of fighting him, I made friends with him. But there's a movie called The Cat's Eye,
Okay.
and there's see that little guy. I found out his name is a wall troll. This is the
Oh,
only damn thing that scared the hell out of me. And
that's
and the reason I could bring that up is because I would put my feet under my blanket and make myself a cocoon. And I remember being like 24 years old and being like, why do I still do this? Why do I still cover myself in a cocoon and being like, well, it's that stupid wall troll? Is there anything from cinema that's ever like terrified you that you're like, no? Or I'm assuming I'm this is the wrong person to ask. You're more like, no, I want to know more. I want to get in on that.
yeah. I don't have nightmares like that. That's not where my nightmares are not uh related to like blood or monsters or anything like that. That's all. I think I'm just way too jaded for that. My nightmares are real life, kind of like more like actual trauma, kind of things like, where you're being taken advantage of by people that you trust, or
Yeah,
forced to do something that you would never do, that would maybe hurt you or others, or that kind of those are my nightmares. My nightmares are man-made horrors, because that's where the real
yeah,
horror is. And most of the horror films I like to have, back in the 80s, every horror film normally used to have like a subtle supernatural element to it, regardless of what it was, a creature feature or whatever, Nightmare on Elm Street, blah blah blah. And but the real horror is in the hearts of men, So I think that's where my nightmares
yeah.
really come from.
Yeah, my horrors nowadays are called electricity bill,
Yeah.
mortgage. It's called insurances. I just can't do it. So
Yeah.
last thing we'll leave you with is just what is your manic media? What do you like to use to unwind, or like some like Scott Manny likes
Mm.
to do music. A lot of people like vinyl records. Some people
Yeah.
like to go out and just do go mushroom picking. What is it that you like to?
I see. Yeah, no, I don't, I cannot do anything creative without music playing. And I use a couple of different apps. I use Mixcloud and SoundCloud, and I use iTunes. But I can't do anything without music, in the car or in the studio, or anything creative involves having some sort of music. I think that was kind of like my first escape. So I'd have to say something with music.
Yeah, that's I'm finding out, and I'm finding out myself. I've been listening to a lot of music lately, and I'm falling in love, and I'm figuring out the love through it. But I got one last thing I got here, and I'll let you go. You were saying you like to be more in movies. I don't know. I was listening to your interview, and I can't remember who it was. It was just one I googled on YouTube. YouTube this interview you did recently, and this you'll see the girl. I'll just show you the video, and we'll talk about it real quick. It's 18-second clip. We're gonna pull something from this. Before we close out.
You know, you can reach me at facebook.com/joe.castro. If you want to make a movie, please reach out to me, send me a message, send me a friend request, and let's make a movie. You can also reach me on Instagram at Joe_Castro_.
So I'm reaching out to you. That's I want to make a movie. I saw that and I was like, dude, this is awesome. This guy's so cool. Like he's literally like, come on, let's do it. So I will throw it out there. If you need, I will fly to you and I will help you out.
Well, thank you for the offer. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. I need to reach out to that young lady. Yeah, but I think she's in Texas as well, or maybe I think she was in Texas. Yeah, South Texas too.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that's
yeah,
the cool thing that like I recently went to go get the at the Texas Frightmare the Monster Squad, and I love Monster Squad, and when I saw there they had the documentary Wolfman Has No Hearts, and they're down in the valley, they're down on Laredo, they're down in Corpus, they're promoting their movie, and I was like that's so cool, like those areas need that, that's they needs that, and when I'm finding out they always were around, you just got to pay attention, so
yeah.
but
There's a little bit of us everywhere for sure.
yeah. Well, thank you, Joe, for coming on. If you want to do any shout outs to any of your movies right now, I can give you a little solo action and then I'll get you out of here.
Hey,
Let's see.
yeah, I just want to say, hey, if you want to make a movie or talk about special effects, reach out to me on Facebook, facebook.com/joe.castro. I'm on there every day. I am on Instagram, but not as much. And yeah, reach out, say hello. Let's make a movie.
Awesome. So I'm gonna leave you everybody with the outro video. And thanks for hanging out with me, Joe. Well, everybody, have a good night. Well, we're just gonna sign out. Peace, everybody.